The council chamber was a sea of color, light, and sound. Rows of curved seats stretched outward in concentric circles, filled with delegates from dozens of species. Insectoid chittering overlapped with reptilian growls, and the aquatic delegates' gills pulsed with nervous agitation. 1,000 different voices formed one low hum of fear. Above them, a massive hollow display floated, casting harsh white light over the chamber. On it played the same footage again and again. Human soldiers moving through alien war zones with speed, precision, and unnerving confidence. Every council member had seen the recordings before, but now they studied them in silence, searching for proof that it was some kind of trick. At the center stood Ambassador Zethari of the Voran Empire. His tall, six-legged frame loomed like a tower of purple flesh and armor plates. Normally, Vorans radiated authority, but tonight Zethari's skin was several shades darker, the color of deep unease. His mandibles clicked as he forced his voice steady. Council members, Zethari said, his words carrying over the quiet chamber, our intelligence was wrong, our assumptions shattered. These beings, these humans, are not what we thought. The hollow shifted. It showed a canyon battle. Humans pinned down by twice their number, escape impossible. Yet instead of retreating, they attacked with almost joyful abandon. Their laughter echoed even as fire rained down around them. Within minutes, the enemy force was broken. A shock rippled across the chamber. Some delegates hissed. Others shifted nervously. A crystalline general leaned forward, facets catching the light. They fight like legends, he admitted. But surely these are their elite. Zethari shook his head. His voice deepened. No, General, these are not their elites. They call them regular infantry. The silence that followed was heavy and suffocating. A dozen species stared at one another in disbelief. The insectoid delegate from the hive collective clicked her mandibles in distress. You cannot mean this. Our royal guard, our most sacred, cannot fight with such unity. But Zethari was not finished. His eyes darkened as more images appeared. Jungles, frozen wastelands, ruined cities. In every environment, humans adapted. In every fight, they thrived. And worse still, Zethari continued, our agents intercepted their own communications. These regulars speak of others. Special units they respect as heroes. They call them SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets, Delta Force. The words hung in the air like a curse. From the far side of the chamber, Admiral Cora of the Blue Fleet finally spoke. Her calm voice was betrayed by the nervous flutter of her gills. How is this possible? We have observed Earth for decades. We thought them primitive, divided, violent among themselves. Zethari's voice dropped to a whisper. We were wrong. What we thought was their peak was only their beginning. The chamber erupted into chaos. Alien voices overlapped in waves of panic. The balance of power that had stood for centuries trembled at the edge of collapse. And then the doors at the chamber's far end opened. A single human walked inside. Captain Jake Morrison, tall and broad-shouldered, his brown hair trimmed short, stepped with easy confidence. His uniform was plain, practical, and somehow more intimidating than all the ceremonial armor surrounding him. 2 guards twice his size flanked him, yet he looked like the calmest being in the room. The chamber fell silent. Dozens of eyes, crystalline, scaled, and alien, locked onto him. This human, ordinary by his own people's standards, was suddenly the most important figure in the galaxy. Jake smiled, casual and friendly, as though unaware of the storm his presence created. "Well, wow," he said. "This is incredible, so many species in one place. It's an honor to be here." The council members exchanged uneasy glances. The being who represented the galaxy's most dangerous military force had arrived, and he claimed he was just a regular Marine. Ambassador Zethari stepped forward, his throat dry. "Captain Morrison, we have questions." Jake grinned, oblivious to their fear. "Please just call me Jake, and sure, I'll answer what I can, but just so you know, I'm not anyone special, just a Marine." That word just landed like a hammer blow. If this warrior, calm and confident in front of the galaxy's leaders, was just a Marine, then what monsters waited in the shadows of Earth's military? The council chamber seemed to tilt, every representative suddenly aware of a new truth. The balance of power had already shifted, and humanity had not even tried. The council chamber had barely settled after Jake Morrison's arrival, when the emergency session was called again. This time the delegates gathered not on Station Harmony, but aboard the Eternal Watch, the Council's flagship observation vessel. It floated in neutral space, a titan of alloy and crystal, bristling with sensors and defensive weapons. Inside, the air buzzed with unease. Representatives from 12 species stood before the vast viewing window, their voices hushed. Beyond the glass, a small human transport ship approached. They agreed to demonstrate their training. Ambassador Zethari reminded the others, his mandibles tense. This is our chance to see the truth. Admiral Cora's gills fluttered with anxiety. Or our chance to confirm our worst fears. The docking clamps engaged. The human ship hissed open. Through the airlock stepped Commander Ben Carter, followed by 6 soldiers. They wore simple combat gear, nothing ceremonial, nothing ornate, just functional, rugged uniforms. Yet every alien present could feel something in the way they moved. Calm, controlled, dangerous. Ben Carter himself was quiet, gray at the temples, with steady eyes that spoke of long years in war zones. His voice was polite but firm. Thank you for allowing us to use your facility. My team appreciates the chance to show you how we train. The council watched the humans file into the training chamber, a vast simulation arena capable of replicating entire cities, alien terrain, even zero-gravity combat. The council had programmed the most difficult scenarios, designed to challenge their elite troops. General Vexter of the Crystalline Defense Force activated the first test. His faceted body glimmered under the lights. Urban warfare. Objective, secure the building complex. You will be outnumbered 3-1. Ben nodded as though told the weather forecast. He turned to his team. Standard room clearing. Lisa, take point. Ryan, overwatch. Carlos, electronic warfare. Everyone else, by the numbers. The scenario began. The humans moved like flowing water. No wasted motion, no hesitation. Sergeant Lisa Thompson placed a small charge against a wall, studied the structure, then blew a clean hole exactly where defenders would least expect. Private Ryan Davis climbed to impossible heights and provided covering fire with frightening precision. Corporal Carlos Martinez hacked into the facility's systems in seconds, turning doors, lights, and security guns against the enemy. The other soldiers filled the gaps, anticipating one another's actions, weaving together like parts of a single living mind. 12 minutes later, the complex was secured. General Vexter's crystalline form shivered in disbelief. Impossible. This scenario was designed to take 40 minutes. Even my royal guard. 8 to 10's our usual, Ben interrupted casually. But Carlos had to learn your system from scratch, and Lisa played it safe with the charges. The aliens exchanged horrified looks. What the humans called slow was beyond their best. The next scenario, the insectoid delegate clicked nervously. Zero-gravity combat. The chamber reconfigured. Artificial gravity cut out. The air was replaced with vacuum. The humans donned simple suits, moving as if the extra weight didn't exist. Enemy contacts appeared across a simulated debris field of shattered ships. Ryan Davis launched himself into space with movements so precise, they looked like a dance. His shots came from impossible angles, striking targets before the council even realized he was aiming. Lisa Thompson's explosives carved clean, calculated paths through the station interior. Carlos Martinez restored failing systems, rerouted power, and made a crippled outpost function better than it had when new. Every hostage rescued, every threat eliminated, every objective secured. That time, 18 minutes. Commander Ben Carter met the council's stunned eyes as his soldiers returned, calm and unshaken. Not bad, he said, though it's been a while since we've had a proper zero-G workout. Usually we finish faster. Admiral Cora's voice trembled. Commander, what would you call advanced training if this is routine? Ben thought, then answered simply. Advanced, deep infiltration, long-range recon, counterterrorism. But that's for our special operations. We're just regular army. The words hit like thunder. The council sat frozen, their galaxy turned upside down. If this was humanity's regular army, then what nightmare awaited in the shadows of their so-called special operations? A hush fell as the humans packed up, smiling, polite, almost casual. Commander Ben Carter gave one last nod. Thanks for letting us use your facility. Next time, maybe we can show you something more challenging. The silence that followed was not admiration. It was fear. Because every alien in the chamber understood the truth. Their age of military supremacy was over. And the humans weren't even trying. The Council's emergency meetings grew more desperate by the hour. Every alien strategist, every intelligence chief came to the same conclusion. They knew too little. The humans had demonstrated terrifying skill, yes, but that was only a glimpse. Whispers of special forces haunted the Council's halls. What were Rangers, SEALs, Delta Force? How many existed? How powerful were they? Well, they needed answers. And so, in the deepest chamber of Station Harmony, a decision was made. The spy master Clickstar of the Hive Collective was tasked with the mission. Her chitin clicked with nervous energy as she accepted. She had infiltrated empires, stolen secrets from entire civilizations, but never had she felt this kind of dread. Her orders were clear. Travel to Earth, invisible, and learn the truth. The landing. 3 days later, a cloaked vessel slid silently into Earth's system. Its stealth technology was the best the galaxy had ever built. No known sensor could detect it. Or so they believed. In a secure facility buried beneath Virginia soil, Colonel Steve Hughes leaned over a glowing screen. His gray eyes narrowed. Unidentified vessel, his aide reported. Outer orbit, attempting to remain hidden, not one of ours. Steve studied the data. The ship thought itself invisible, but human sensors tracked it with ease. Don't engage, Steve ordered quietly. Let them land, watch, learn. He smiled grimly. I want to know what they're looking for. The alien ship descended into a forest just outside Washington, cloaking its form against the human eye. 4 figures emerged, Clickstar and her 3 agents, clad in adaptive camouflage. They believed themselves unseen. But above them, satellites traced every step. The Pentagon. Their first target was the Pentagon. Clickstar expected fortress walls, soldiers on every corner, weapons bristling. Instead, she saw humans walking casually in and out with simple passes and basic checks. Agent Yixty whispered, his mandibles twitching. This cannot be their true headquarters, too exposed, too unguarded. But the longer they watched, the clearer it became. It was real. The humans' confidence in leaving their military heart so unguarded was not weakness. It was arrogance, or worse, supreme certainty that no one would dare attack them here. Through their hidden devices, the aliens listened. Conversations drifted across corridors. The 82nd running exercises in North Carolina. Good. Are the Rangers back yet? A 1st Battalion in Georgia. 2nd just finished Alaska. 3rds in Colorado. The alien agents froze. Battalions. Entire formations of these so-called Rangers. The numbers didn't add up. They had assumed special forces meant a handful of elite warriors. Instead, they were learning of entire armies of them. Clickstar's legs trembled with unease. If this was true, humanity's military might was beyond imagination. The discoveries. The team split to cover more ground. At Fort Bragg, Agent Yixty observed paratroopers drilling. They leapt from planes with speed and precision, landing, regrouping, firing, all faster than elite alien commandos could manage. But to the humans, this was routine training, not special. At a naval base in Virginia, Agent Vork watched sailors swarm mock enemy ships. Their boarding actions were fluid, ruthless, unstoppable. Yet once again, these were ordinary sailors, not elite. And Clickstar herself infiltrated a training ground for something called Green Berets. She expected a handful of shadow operatives. Instead, she found thousands, all specializing in different missions. Jungle warfare, Arctic operations, psychological tactics, languages, survival, sabotage. And worse still, whispers of even deeper shadows. Delta Force, CIA Special Activities Division, names spoken in fear even among the Green Berets. Clickstar recorded everything, her mandibles clattering in silent alarm. The Watchers. What she didn't know was that she and her team were being tracked at every step. Colonel Hughes sat in his secure command post, watching their feeds. Alongside him, Major Linda Chen, intelligence officer, reviewed the patterns. They've visited 18 sites so far, she reported. Army, Navy, Air Force. They're seeing what we want them to see. Hughes leaned back, eyes narrowing. And what haven't they seen? Linda's lips curled in a faint smile. The black programs, the deep assets, the weapons and units that don't officially exist. The doors opened, and Captain Nick Powell entered, a Force Recon Marine with eyes like cold steel. His presence alone was proof this was being taken seriously. They're good, Nick admitted, but they're blind. They think they're uncovering our secrets. They're only scratching the surface. Hughes nodded. Let them keep scratching. The more they think they know, the less they'll realize what we're holding back. The report. Weeks passed. The alien agents gathered their findings into a single report. To them, it was devastating. Humans had not one elite unit, but dozens, each trained for missions the galaxy had no words for. Their numbers were vast, their specializations endless. And yet, even with all they had seen, something gnawed at Clickstar. The humans' confidence, their hidden smiles, the way they left so much in the open. It all hinted at deeper layers she could not touch. What were they hiding? Her claws trembled as she finished her report. But before she could deliver it, alarms blared across Station Harmony. Every corridor filled with panicked delegates. Sirens shrieked. A fleet was coming. Not humanity. The Korak Rebellion, ruthless raiders of the outer systems, had chosen this moment to strike. 50 warships surrounded Station Harmony, their weapons already primed. On every channel, a voice thundered. Council slaves and your new human pets, surrender this station or we burn it. The chamber shook. Admiral Cora's skin paled. Our fleets are 6 hours away, she whispered. We cannot hold. Zithari's mandibles clicked in despair. Then it is over. But in the human quarters, Jake Morrison's communicator beeped. A coded message from Earth. Jake read it, smiled faintly, and walked calmly toward the council chamber. Excuse me, he said politely, raising his hand. Earth would like to help with this situation. The council chamber shook with panic. Alarms blared through every corridor of Station Harmony. The great delegates of the galaxy, rulers of empires, masters of fleets, were reduced to frightened voices overlapping in chaos. On the main display, 50 Korak warships surrounded the station. Cruisers and destroyers drifted into formation, weapons glowing hot. The rebels had timed their strike perfectly. when the station's defenses were weakest, when its patrol fleets were hours away. Ambassador Zethari's purple skin had gone pale. Admiral Cora's gills flared in desperation. General Vexter's crystalline body flickered with unstable light. This is the end, hissed one delegate. We must surrender, clicked another. And they will slaughter us if we resist. The chamber was moments from collapse into despair when Jake Morrison stepped forward, calm and steady. Excuse me, he said, raising his hand like a schoolteacher stopping unruly children. Earth would like to help with this situation. Every alien eye turned to him. General Vexter stammered. Captain Morrison, these are not pirates. 50 warships, heavily armed. You cannot possibly. Jake interrupted with a grin. Earth considers an attack on this station an attack on our people, and we don't take kindly to that. Before the council could object, new signals appeared on the tactical display. Dozens of human ships, sleek and angular, dropped out of faster-than-light space at the system's edge. The council chamber gasped as the symbols lit up. 12 ships, each marked with Earth defense insignia, moving fast toward the rebel fleet. 12, Admiral Cora whispered, her voice trembling. 12 ships against 50. They're here, Jake said simply. And trust me, you'll want to watch this. The calm before the storm. On the bridge of the human flagship, General Frank Torres stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was older, grizzled, with calm eyes that had stared down wars for decades. Around him, officers worked with smooth efficiency. The status report, Torres said. Enemy fleet, 50 vessels, mixed cruisers and destroyers. Weapons hot, shields raised. They're demanding surrender from the station. Torres nodded. And our response? Commander Julia Bennett, head of special warfare, checked her console. 12 ships in formation, first wave. Additional forces on standby if required. Torres allowed himself a faint smile. 12 will do. The Korak mistake. The human fleet advanced. Not in frantic maneuvers, not in desperate charges, but with a slow, almost casual precision. The Korak commander snarled on the open channel. His scaled features twisted in arrogance. So the humans come to die with their council friends? 12 ships against 50. How touching. General Torres appeared on his screen, calm as stone. This is General Torres of Earth Defense Forces. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. This is your only warning. The Korak laughed, his voice echoing across the stars. You humans are fools. Surrender or be annihilated. Tor's eyes narrowed. I'll take that as a refusal. The channel cut. Commence engagement, Tor said. The dance of war. The void erupted. 50 Korak warships opened fire at once. Streams of plasma, beams of light, and clouds of missiles filled the black. The station shuddered as even from a distance, the volume of fire lit the void like a storm. But the humans moved like water. Their 12 ships slid through the chaos with impossible grace, weaving between attacks as though they had rehearsed the enemy's every move. Shields flared but never faltered. Not one shot landed clean. And then the humans struck. The first Korak cruiser exploded 30 seconds into the battle. Another followed seconds later. Then 3 more. Each human volley hit with surgical precision. Engines disabled, weapons cut away, ships left drifting helpless in the dark. The council chamber watched in stunned silence. To them, it was not a battle. It was an execution. General Vexter whispered, his crystalline body dimming. They're toying with them. Admiral Cora's gills fluttered with horror. They could end it instantly, but they choose mercy. That is more terrifying than destruction. Mercy in fire. Within 15 minutes, it was over. Most Korak ships floated powerless, weapons disabled, engines dead. A few limped away, fleeing at full speed. The rebels who had moments ago threatened to destroy the council were reduced to broken wrecks in silence. The humans had not slaughtered them. They had chosen to cripple, not kill. But that mercy carried its own weight, for it showed absolute control. Torres appeared on the council's display. His voice was calm, professional. Station Harmony, this is General Torres. The threat has been neutralized. Casualties. Jake Morrison answered with a smile. None, General. The station is secure, thank you. No problem, Captain. We'll remain until Council forces arrive to handle prisoners. The channel closed. Jake turned back to the stunned chamber. Sorry about the excitement. Hope nobody was too worried. The revelation. Ambassador Zethari stepped forward, trembling. Captain Morrison, what we just witnessed. 12 ships defeated 50 in 15 minutes. How is this possible? Jake shrugged as though asked about the weather. The standard fleet engagement. Honestly, General Torres used minimal force. Didn't want to waste ammo or lives. If it had been serious, the response would have been much larger. Minimal. General Vexter's crystalline voice cracked. And Jake nodded. Sure, 12 ships is what we send for raiders and pirates. Against a real military threat, we'd use carrier groups, battle fleets, strategic units, the really dangerous stuff. The words sank into the chamber like falling stones. The rebels who had terrified the galaxy for years were defeated by what humans considered a policing action. And humanity had hinted that this overwhelming display was still not their full strength. 3 months had passed since the Kororek incident. The station Harmony looked different now. The banners of a dozen species still hung from its curved walls, but their colors seemed muted under the shadow of a new reality. For the first time in living memory, the Galactic Council's endless bickering had slowed. Species who had argued for centuries now worked together in quiet cooperation. Fear had united them. Not fear of the Kororek, but fear of humanity. A new presence. At the rear of the chamber sat Admiral Patricia Stone. Tall, silver-haired, her uniform simple but immaculate, she watched the assembly with calm authority. She did not speak often, but her very presence bent the atmosphere. Conversations hushed when she entered, not because she demanded silence, but because every alien present knew she commanded forces that could reshape the galaxy in an afternoon. She was the newly appointed head of the Galactic Defense Initiative, a polite name for Earth's role as the Council's protector. The vote was due today. Ambassador Zethari rose, his 6 legs trembling slightly. The proposal before us, he said, voice steady despite the tension, will formally recognize Earth as the primary military power in our region of space. In exchange for protection, participating worlds will contribute resources and technology to a common defense. The vote was unanimous. not because the council loved the idea, but because the Korarak incident had proven the alternative was hopeless. The age of balance was gone. The age of humanity had begun. The doctrine revealed. Admiral Stone rose, walking to the center platform. She moved with quiet confidence, every step measured. When she spoke, her voice carried like a blade through the chamber. Thank you for your confidence. Earth takes this responsibility seriously. A holographic display bloomed above her. Military bases, patrol routes, stations. Human vessels spread like a net across trade routes and strategic systems. Gasps rippled through the chamber. The network was immense, too immense to have been built in mere weeks. You have been planning this, General Vexter whispered, crystalline facets flickering uneasily. The stone did not deny it. Our philosophy is simple: prevent conflict before it starts. When prevention fails, respond with overwhelming force. When response is required, end the threat permanently. The words were delivered without arrogance, but their weight pressed down on every delegate like gravity itself. Training the galaxy. Colonel Danny Wright entered, carrying a sealed case. He was younger, but his posture radiated quiet certainty. He bowed slightly to Stone before addressing the chamber. We have the final reports from the integration program, he said. Alien forces trained under human instructors. Their effectiveness has increased by 300 to 400%. Murmurs spread. The crystalline defense force excels technically but struggles psychologically, Wright continued. The Fourth Imperial Guard has adapted quickly to conditioning. Others require more time. Admiral Cora leaned forward, gills twitching. Conditioning, what do you mean? Wright glanced at Stone. She nodded. Human doctrine requires more than weapons and drills, Wright explained. We train minds. Soldiers must stay calm under fire, adapt instantly, fight even when all seems lost. These traits are not natural for most species. The insectoid delegate clicked nervously. Are they natural for humans? Not natural, Wright corrected. Trained, perfected for thousands of years. A shiver ran through the chamber. Humanity's strength wasn't just weapons. It was psychology, honed through centuries of war and survival. The hidden truths. The doors opened again. Major Kelly Foster entered, small, quiet, but wearing the insignia of diplomatic security. Her clearance levels were legendary. Her presence meant one thing: secrets were about to be revealed. Admiral, she said softly, authorization granted for full disclosure. Stone nodded and activated new displays. The chamber fell silent. Weapon systems, deployment maps, entire fleets. What the aliens had seen until now, the training demonstrations, the 12-ship fleet, was revealed to be only a fraction. The scale was staggering. This, Stone said calmly, represents roughly 10% of Earth's total capability. The silence that followed was absolute. The delegates stared in horror. What they had believed to be humanity's terrifying peak was revealed as a sliver. 10%, General Vexter whispered. Irregular defense forces, Stone confirmed. What we use for routine patrols and peacekeeping. Strategic reserves, black programs, and deep space assets remain undisclosed. Ambassador Zethari's mandibles clattered in shock. Why tell us this now? Stone's gaze swept the chamber. Because some of you still dream of resistance. Some whisper of coalitions to counter Earth's influence. That is dangerous thinking. You must understand, resistance is not balance. Resistance is suicide. The words landed like thunder. The warning. The Major Foster stepped forward, datapad in hand. Our intelligence confirms that certain outer systems are exploring military alliances against Earth. Let me be clear. Such efforts are futile, not because Earth seeks conquest, but because they threaten stability. Admiral Cora's gills flared. Futile because resistance is impossible. The Stone shook her head. Futile because you misunderstand our intentions. We do not want an empire, we want peace. But we will enforce that peace with whatever force is required. Her silver hair gleamed under the chamber lights. Her calm smile was more terrifying than a shouted threat. The galaxy understood then. Humanity did not conquer by force. Humanity conquered by making resistance unthinkable. The return of a familiar face. As the displays faded, a new figure entered. Admiral Jake Morrison, promoted after the Korak battle, walked to the platform. He still carried that easy smile, the same casual tone as when he first stepped into the chamber months ago. How are the partnerships working?" he asked Stone. Better than expected," she replied. Jake turned to the chamber, his voice warm, almost friendly. "Earth values our relationships. We're excited for a peaceful future together." The words were simple, almost disarming. But everyone listening knew. Behind that smile stood fleets, armies, and shadows they could barely imagine. And so the session ended, not with arguments, not with shouting, but with silence. For every delegate understood the truth. The balance was gone, and humanity had not needed conquest. They had simply revealed that conquest was unnecessary. The whispers became rumors. The rumors became meetings. And soon the meetings became fleets. In the farthest reaches of council space, beyond the trade lanes and patrol routes where humanity's presence was strongest, the outer coalition took shape. It was born of fear. Worlds that had once held pride in their fleets, in their warriors, could not stomach their new dependence on humanity. They told themselves that Earth was not a protector. It was a conqueror in disguise. And so they plotted the secret alliance. In a hollow asteroid orbiting a dim star, leaders of 6 outer species gathered. The chamber was cold and sparse, its walls glowing faintly with alien light. The Vanar warlord core, his reptilian frame armored in scarred scales, slammed a claw on the table. "They have humiliated us," Core hissed. 12 ships against 50, soldiers who fight as if they are one mind, and now they claim the right to police us all. The insectoid matron of the Kiri clicked in support. "We will drown under their protection. We must act before it is too late." The crystalline emissary of the Shar folded his luminous arms. "We cannot match their fleets head-on, but together, perhaps." Kor bared his teeth in a savage grin. "Yes, together. A strike so swift, so decisive that humanity will retreat to its world and leave the stars to us again." The plan was simple. Strike a human patrol fleet, overwhelm it with numbers, prove that humans were not invincible. The galaxy would see Earth bleed, and the illusion would shatter. Or so they believed. The trap. Weeks later, near the Nebora Belt, the outer coalition's trap was set. 30 warships, hidden among asteroids, waited in silence. Their target, a routine human patrol, only 4 vessels. The coalition commanders licked their mandibles, clicked claws, sharpened teeth. This would be their triumph. Then the humans arrived. 4 ships glided into the sector, sleek and silent. Their transponders marked them as a standard patrol group. The coalition pounced. Asteroids shifted. Warships lit their engines. Beams and missiles lanced toward the humans. The trap snapped shut. The wrong kind of prey. Inside the human flagship, Colonel Steve Hughes stood on the bridge, hands behind his back. His gray eyes never flickered. Coalition vessels engaging. His aide reported calmly. Good, Hughes said softly. Proceed. Though the human ships did not scatter. They did not panic. Instead, they slid into formation as if expecting the attack. And then they unleashed. Every missile found its target. Every beam carved through shields as if they were paper. Coalition ships burst into flame and silence within minutes. On the Council's hidden observation channel, unbeknownst to the Coalition, delegates watched in horror. This cannot be real, whispered the crystalline observer. They are outnumbered 7-1. Admiral Cora's gills trembled. No, they are demonstrating. She was right. The humans weren't simply fighting. They were showing. Every move was deliberate, every kill precise. And when the last coalition ship tried to flee, the humans disabled rather than destroyed it, leaving it drifting helpless in space. In 20 minutes, the battle was over. 4 human ships, 30 coalition warships. Not one human casualty. The reckoning. Back on Station Harmony, the surviving coalition leaders were dragged before the council in chains. Ambassador Zethari stood rigid, his skin dark with fury. You plotted rebellion even after all we showed you. Why? Warlord Kor snarled. Because you are slaves to the humans, they will rule you as masters. The chamber shook with murmurs. Many delegates secretly shared his fear. Then Admiral Patricia Stone rose. Her voice was calm. We do not seek masters and slaves. We seek order, protection, peace. But understand this. She gestured, and the hollow above flickered with images of the destroyed coalition fleet. Any who challenge Earth will find not victory, not glory, but ashes. Her silver hair caught the chamber light as she looked each delegate in the eye. This is not a threat. It is a promise of peace, backed by the only force in this galaxy capable of enforcing it. The chamber fell silent. Even those who hated Earth most felt their hope extinguish. The quiet terror. In the private halls of Station Harmony, whispers continued, not of rebellion, but of fear. If 4 ships can destroy 30, one delegate murmured, what could 400 do? 10%, another whispered. She said it was only 10%. What lies in the shadows of their black programs? What weapons have we not yet seen? No one had answers. And in that silence, humanity's grip grew stronger than any chain. The final spark. Yet fear can be dangerous. It can smolder into despair. And in despair, desperate beings make desperate choices. As Admiral Stone prepared her next address to the Council, an encrypted message reached her desk. Major Kelly Foster handed her the data pad. Her expression was pale. Admiral, our intelligence has intercepted plans for something far worse than the coalition. Stone read the message. Her calm expression never faltered, but her eyes darkened. She looked up slowly. They are not planning to fight us in open space, she said quietly. They are planning to destroy Earth itself. The intercepted data was grim. In the depths of the galaxy, far from the trade lanes and council patrols, an alliance of desperate species was building something terrible. Not fleets, not armies, but a weapon. The files showed vast construction rings around a dying star, energy collectors larger than cities, warheads the size of mountains. The project had a name in the alien tongue, but the human translators rendered it in 2 simple words. The extinguisher. Its purpose was not conquest, not intimidation. It was designed for one thing only: to burn Earth into lifeless ash. The council divided. When the council chamber saw the evidence, chaos erupted. This cannot be true, shouted one delegate. They would never dare strike the human homeworld. They would, Zethari said darkly. His 6 legs trembled, but his voice was firm. They already dared once with their rebellion. This is only the next step. General Vexter's crystalline body shimmered with unease. If this weapon is real, it threatens not only Earth. Its power could scour entire systems. Ambassador Cora's gills flared. Then we must act together, a joint council fleet. Admiral Patricia Stone raised a single hand. The chamber fell silent. "No," she said, "this is not a council matter. This is a human matter. They aim for our world. We will answer." Her words were calm, but every delegate felt the weight behind them. Humanity was taking this battle alone. And some wondered if that was even more terrifying. Into the dark. 1 week later, the human fleet moved. Not hundreds of ships, not thousands. Just one task force, chosen with care. The flagship Resolute, commanded by Admiral Stone herself. The stealth cruiser Silent Dagger, carrying Major Kelly Foster and her intelligence team. The 3 destroyers, fast and lethal. And 1 carrier, loaded with Marines and drop ships. The minimal force, Stone had called it. The council watched from afar, unsure whether to pray for humanity's victory or fear it. The weapon revealed. The task force reached the dying star system. The sight made even human veterans pause. The construction ring spanned half the system, glinting with stolen metals. Around it floated fleets of desperate ships, patchwork vessels from dozens of species who had abandoned their council ties to gamble everything on Earth's destruction. At the center burned the weapon, a spear of pure energy charging slowly, aimed at a distant blue-green planet. Earth. "A target confirmed," Foster whispered. "If they fire, nothing survives." Stone stood tall on the Resolute's bridge. Her voice carried the weight of final judgment. Transmit 1 warning, then prepare to engage." The warning. The comms channel opened. "This is Admiral Patricia Stone of Earth Defense Forces," she said, her tone steady as iron. "You are building a weapon of genocide. Stand down now, or we will end this." The alien response came, harsh and desperate. You cannot rule us all. Better to die free than live under human shadow. Aston's lips tightened. So be it. She turned to her crew. Commence Operation Balance Breaker. The battle, the dark system erupted into fire. Enemy fleets surged forward in chaos, hundreds of ships vomiting weapons fire. The human task force met them like a knife cutting silk. The destroyers darted through the fray, every shot precise, every maneuver flawless. The silent dagger vanished from sight, striking unseen, its torpedoes ripping apart command ships before the enemy even realized it was there. From the carrier, drop pods streaked into the construction ring, Marines deploying in squads. On the bridge, Stone's calm orders guided the slaughter. Target engines, disrupt coordination, leave their weapons silent. It wasn't war. It was dissection. The ground strike. Inside the construction ring, chaos reigned. Captain Jake Morrison, once a regular Marine, now a seasoned leader, led his squad through corridors echoing with alien panic. Objective ahead, shouted Sergeant Thompson. Explosions rocked the walls. The weapon's core chamber loomed before them, glowing with unstable energy. Alien engineers scrambled, trying to finish the activation. Jake's voice cut through the noise. Lisa charges, Ryan cover, Carlos shut that thing down. Humans moved like a single organism. In minutes, defenses collapsed. Carlos hacked into the system, sweat on his brow. Overriding failsafe, done. The weapon's glow faltered. Then the charges detonated. The extinguisher died in a blossom of fire and silence. The aftermath. The battle ended as quickly as it began. The rebel fleets shattered. Survivors fled into the void. The construction ring broke apart, fragments tumbling toward the star. On the Resolute, Admiral Stone addressed the Council's live channel. The weapon is destroyed. The threat is ended. Humanity remains. There was no triumph in her voice, only certainty. The revelation. Later, in the private council chamber, Ambassador Zethari asked the question that weighed on every delegate's mind. Admiral, how many more forces does Earth command? If you can end this with so little. Stone's silver hair glinted in the dim light. She answered without hesitation. "Well, what you have seen today," she said softly, "is still less than 10% of what humanity can bring to bear." The silence was absolute. Delegates who had feared humans before now understood the full depth of their mistake. Resistance was not only futile, it was suicidal. The new order. Weeks later, the Galactic Council ratified the Human Defense Doctrine. Earth was not conqueror, not tyrant, but guardian. That trade flowed under human patrols. Peace spread, enforced by fleets no one dared challenge. Alien militaries trained under human guidance, learning discipline, adaptability, and something deeper, hope. Yet in the quiet corners of the galaxy, whispers remained. What if humanity's compassion faltered? What if the hand that guarded one day chose to close into a fist? No one could answer. But for now, the balance was shattered and rebuilt in a new form, with Earth at its center. An epilogue. On Station Harmony, Admiral Stone walked the observation deck with Jake Morrison at her side. Below them, alien children played with human children, laughter echoing through the halls. Jake smiled. "You think they'll ever stop being afraid of us?" Stone's gaze softened. "Fear fades. What lasts is trust. That is what we must earn." She looked out into the stars, her voice quiet but firm. Because one truth remains. Humanity will not rule this galaxy by fear. We will protect it with strength and guide it with compassion. The stars burned on. The galaxy held its breath. And the age of humanity had only just begun.